speak, we'll be on.
Okay.
Well, good evening. I think we're live. I'm at the helm this evening on the technology, which is quite nerve-wracking, really. Anything could happen, so do let us know in the chat if the sound is okay. Pieman has gone and done something really inconsiderate to Doubles and Trebles. Pieman's joined a darts league down in his local in Devon, and it takes place on a Thursday night, which is absolutely not ideal for the Doubles and Trebles famous Thursday night live racing preview. But I have got the main man SD with me. He is in the toilet of a hotel somewhere in the southeast of England. SD, how are you?
Well, I'm fine, apart from being stuck in a bathroom somewhere in the southeast of England with absolutely no wriggle room. Yeah, when I sat on this thing, it nearly caved through.
Well, that's an indictment of your health rather than the toilet's health. But you've been to Brighton and Plumpton this week, SD, is that right? Or was it Fontwell?
Fontwell and Brighton, and we're off to Plumpton on Sunday. Lovely part of the world down here.
Fantastic. And then we'll be back next week, won't we, for either Haydock or Newmarket next Saturday. The decision is yours, but we will both be wherever you decide next Saturday. But anyway, there's all sorts to get through. There's 9 live races on ITV this Saturday. From Ayr is the main feature, but there's some good, decent supporting races from Newbury as well. So we're going to go first up, not quite chronological order. It's going to be over to the Ayr Gold Cup at 3:40 firstly. SD, I was looking at the card and I thought it was surprisingly quick ground for Ayr at this time of year. I mean, we've had this meeting called off during my time in racing a couple of years ago. They've managed to avoid most of the rain that was forecast earlier in the week. I had a couple down. If there was one that wanted the rain, very much wanted the rain, Chief of Chiefs, he's been knocking on the door this year. I had him down as an eye catcher in the Stewards Cup, but I don't think he's going to get the ground he likes. Summergand, I'm not saying back him, but he's got to carry a borderline ridiculous weight here off 112. Young Sean Kiran, I think that's his name, takes £5 off. He's not too bad. But yeah, he was last running with much credit in Group 1s like the Sprint Cup. He's a 7-year-old now, Summergand, and 5 of his top 6 career best efforts on RPRs have come this year. So he's banging form, but he's got to carry a massive weight. I will keep my selections until we've spoken to you, Mr. SD, but what did you make of the feature handicap of the whole week?
It's a great race. This is the absolute king of sprints, isn't it? I mean, it's been won by some lovely horses in the past. I mean, I felt old when I went through the Who's Who earlier on today. Locksong won it in 92. Coastal Bluff won it in 96, subsequently won the Numthorpe. Keto won it. And it's 20 years since Continent won it for little Dandy Nichols. And Kevin Ryan has trained 3 of the last 10 winners. But we must look forward, and we must look forward to what I think Great Ambassador wins this. I think he's got absolutely everything going for him. Now, I was quite critical about Walker on these Group 1s, but look, he's fine in sprint handicaps. He ran a great race in the Stewards. He then Wasden at Newmarket, beating Rathbone, and then he won a listed race at York. He'll be tough to beat. I mean, there's a slight question mark about the draw in 1, but he's not prohibitively short. I think 5-1 is fair enough. Just some breaking news coming. Sir Clive Sinclair has died. That's breaking news. So there you go. We'll continue with the Ayr Gold Cup.
Well, you killed someone off last week that wasn't dead, and now you've confirmed someone is dead. But we'll move on from
So Great Ambassador. Look, I think he's a bet at 5-1, and you play the places. So I think Sly bet a 7 in this, and that again is fair enough. I'll come to the other selection in a minute. There wasn't a lot I fancied in here, you know. I thought, when you've got a horse like Snazzy Jazzy, trained by Lawrence Mullaney, who probably had a last winner when Saddam Hussein was in power in Iraq as at 16s, it tells you a little bit about the race. Potmaster's a perfectly good chance as stablemate. Just Frank will blast off. That's a chance. Ostilio will probably win one of these. Whether it's today or not, I'm not so sure, but he may well be thereabouts. Chief of Chiefs never wins. Mr. Wagyu's now too high in the weights. Look, the other one I came down on was Hey Jonesy for the aforementioned Kevin Ryan with a lovely Megan Nichols doing the steering. Look, he won the Wokingham last year off 99. He's now off 98. I think the key to this horse is pretty fast ground. Now, he's not had it an awful lot since then. They've been basically racing him on ground, which I would say was softer than ideal, which will slow him down. And as a result, he's come down in the handicap. He didn't run a bad race in the Stewards last time. And at 33 7 places, he's drawn near Great Ambassador, which I'd have rather have one on each side, but you can't have everything. But I thought that was a perfectly good bet. So, look, I backed Great Ambassador 2 weeks ago. I'll back him again. And I've thrown a few quid on Hey Jonesy this afternoon.
Well, fair play to SD, because we had a similar race last week, the Portland at Doncaster, where we put up 2 horses. One of them was the Fav. The Fav won, and he also had the second as well. So you cannot argue with SD's form in sprint handicaps. And we'll be coming on to SD's excellent form in another section of the show later on. Talking about the Portland, I put Mr. Wagyu up last week. I think he was about 12 to 1, something like that. He's 16 to 1 for this. Last week was 5.5 furlongs. I think he prefers the 6 here. He's been running with a lot of credit, and I mean, he also likes Ayr as well. I mean, he's got 5 starts here. Form figures reading 1-3-1-2-5. I mean, I'm happy to keep the faith with Mr. Wagyu. He is currently about 16 to 1, 14 to 1 with 7 places. So I'll be taking that one at a much bigger price. I'm having a small each way on Motogally. For Charlie Hills in the famous Hamdan colours. They've been in the news today, the owner's connections of this horse. He has got an unreliable profile, but that's why he's 33 to 1. Faster ground, the better, I think, for this horse. And a return to the form he showed at the back end of last year, where he had a decent win at Bath, would give him a bit of a chance here. And Charlie Hills knows how to train a sprinter. But as I say, similar to Snazzy Jazzy, not Snazzy Jazzy, Hey Jonesy, what SD's put up at 33s. When you play in that region, obviously there's holes in some of their form. But I thought Motogally 25 to 1 with 7 places. Very similar price and place terms as Hey Jonesy. That would be my second selection in the race. Shall we move on, SD? Yep.
Oh, I think we move on to the silver plate, silver cup even. That's what it's called.
The silver, yep. So exactly the same course and distance, but just an hour or so before at Ayr. It's basically for the horses that weren't high enough in the handicap to get in the ultra competitive maximum field Ayr Gold Cup, and they've also got a maximum field for the Silver Cup, 25 runners. Competitive once again, but just at a slightly lower level. But it doesn't make it any easier. Black Rod has won his last 2 and he's £5 well in. According to the handicapper, he's sure to be popular. He could well go in again. I wouldn't argue against it. He's 5 to 1, clear favourite. Royal Scimitar is one that I should really be looking at back in, having backed him earlier in the season at 40 to 1 at Newmarket. And it still pains me to say that he was drawn on the wrong side that day. Got a place, but would have won if he was on the other side. I think blinkers go on Royal Scimitar for the first time. He is probably still well handicapped, if you ask me. He has messed up the start on the 2 of his last 3 runs. One of them was in that Shergar Cup. He can't be doing that again here, and he's about 10 to 1. So I'll be having a point each way on him. I have got another selection that I know SD disagrees with, but before we get to my second selection, we'll go over to SD for his thoughts on the Ayr Silver Cup.
Well, I did text you earlier today, independently, and yes, Royal Scimitar is, if there's one horse who is very well handicapped in this, it's Royal Scimitar. I mean, that run at Newmarket was really quite good. He was behind Black Rod that day, giving him £8, and I thought he probably should have won. Some of us didn't bother backing him that day, so that was all fine. Look, he's only given him 6 today if you don't take Jockey's Claims into account. And I think he's I'd have it. I thought he'd be favourite when I did the form. You purposely do. Well, I did the form earlier before the bookies had the balls to price the race up, because they had no Betfair or anything to go off, or not looking at anybody else. So it was quite interesting earlier on. Look, this is a perfectly good race. I wouldn't put anyone off Total Commitment. You could back him. Rathbone's a chance. I'll come on to the second selection in a minute. You could make a case for Tinto. I just thought that Music Society had claims in this. Now, the poor thing unseated the rider last year, and I think it was probably this race. It was the Bronze Cup he unseated the rider in, but the year before he won the Bronze Cup, beat Highly Sprung in that, and he's been running pretty well ever since. He ran a perfectly good race in the Great St Wilfrid. He did, and they've put him down to he was second at York earlier in the year. And look, although his mark's probably a little bit high, I can certainly back him each way and be on Ella McCain when the chips are down. There's my first Tomo joke of the evening.
Right, which one was that then? Just to miss that. Ellen McCain is on
Music Society.
Music Society, 14-1, 6 places. Is that just the one selection in the silver then, SD?
No. As I said before, I thought
Scimitar.
Some Royal Scimitar. Yes.
Right.
It pains me to agree with you, but I think you might be on one there.
Yeah, well, I just wish it had won that race at the July meeting 40-1, but I still haven't got over that. That's the second time I've mentioned it. So yeah, Royal Scimitar for me. Also, my secondary selection, which I know you disagree with, Soldier's Minute. He's falling down the handicap. He's now at his lowest mark since the start of 2019 off 92 now. He has had a disjointed year. He's only had 3 starts, but he should be fit and ready to go now. He was last seen at Ripon when running okay before taking a disliking to the track. I thought, we know that can happen. SD has explained that to us before about the ridges at Ripon. He was 4th in the Ayr Gold Cup last year, beaten only 2 lengths Soldier's Minute. Obviously, a repeat of that form sees him go very close here, but it seems to be a reasonably big if, given the season he is having. But he's 25-1 each way, 6 places, so that'll be my each way selection in that. We'll go back in a bit of chronological order now, SD. We're on to the 155 at Ayr, which is the Doonside Cup listed event over 10 furlongs. It's quite straightforward for me. Juan Elcano should be winning this, and I think will win this. Was 5-2 earlier, or possibly yesterday anti-post, but after Dex is now in 11-8. Still a bet. The grade's right, the trip's right, the ground's right. Everything in his favour, and he should be winning for me. Euchen Glen, second favourite, admirable performer. You know, he's done what he's done this year, won a listed race earlier in the season, but for me, he wants softer ground. Now, we have had someone in the chat, Joseph Connolly, said it's raining now and we'll piss it down tomorrow. That's it. That's a live weather update from Joseph Connolly in the chat regarding Ayr. I'm not sure if the weather forecast agrees, but if that's what's happening now, that's what's happening now. That will be to the liking of Euchen Glen. But also in this race, May Danny, 6-1. Like his siblings, he's pretty unreliable, and I think he's better over 8 furlongs anyway, not this. And there's some in behind that are just no way near good enough to be winning this race. So all roads point to Juan Elcano to me. You're not going to get rich backing him, but I just think he wins.
Yeah, there's a bit of rain forecast tomorrow. There isn't a great deal. I've got the radar on at the moment, and it isn't raining. I think it was probably raining 5 minutes ago, but there we go. Anyway, look, they might get, I said 3 mil to you earlier today, they might get 5 mil. I still think it'll be quick. Ayr actually drains well. An interesting story about this race. I don't know if anyone in the chat remembers a horse called Lord Advocate. He was rated about 40, and he used to run in this race every year. And he actually won once at Hamilton, but I've got about 20 odd years. So if anyone remembers Lord Advocate, give yourself a gold star. There's some similar Lord Advocate types in
there. There is some rags running in this. I mean, what's the story? Are they locally trained or something? There's a horse running on his second start, and there's a horse running on his third start.
It's a bit of a tradition they have. I mean, get Linda Perrett's owner's badges up. The lovely Linda Perrett, she was quite good looking when Ho Leng won the Bunbury Cup. Anyway, we digress.
There's at least one comment every week regarding a female in racing. We've had Maureen Haggis, we've had Linda Perrett, we had Maddie Player last week. I mean, who might it be next week? The possibilities are endless.
I know, it could be Leslie Graham or somebody else. Or anyway. Look, May Danny, I think you're unfair on May Danny's breeding. Of course, he's out of Attraction, who won the Guineas, who was such a good horse. But you've got the race spot on. I mean, it's just everything is going for Juan Elcano. And what you've said about the others is perfectly fair. Look, if Juan Elcano's right, he'll win this race. Euchen Glen needs much softer ground. We've discussed all this, and the problem is with poor Euchen Glen, he's run too much this year. He'd be absolutely knackered. I mean, it's like a lot of Jim Goldie horses. He's run an awful lot. He'll probably be over the top. And I thought Juan Elcano was a bet at evens a bigger. So I think there was some 11-8 floated about earlier. I'm kicking myself for not backing him anti-post because Ahab was never going to run in this, of course, on fast ground, and that 3-1 anti-post was an absolute steal. But Juan Elcano will win, and yes, he is a bet. You can say what you like about tipsters putting horses up at 11-8, but for me, this horse should just about be odds on, and he is value at that price.
Yep.
So
there we go. It's all about price, SD. We say it every week, don't we? Moving on to Newbury, which I think, if the dead 8 runners remain in the 2:15 at Newbury, this I think is, other than the Gold Cup, obviously, is one of the betting races of the weekend. Currently we've got 8 runners, and 4 of them are priced between 3 and 4-1 respectively. We've got all sorts of form lines. It's over 5 furlongs with Group 3. Plenty of horses in there that we know. Some we love, some we hate. Some. Cardem was really well backed on his 5 furlong debut, a belated 5 furlong debut as a 5-year-old at Doncaster last week. Back like losing was out the question, and so it proved. He won with ease. This is tougher for Cardem this week. He faces the likes of Kings Lynn, who's had a strange year really for Kings Lynn. Never raced over 5 furlongs until this year. He's only a 4-year-old, don't get me wrong, but 6 starts this year for Kings Lynn, 4 over 5 furlongs, 2 over 6 furlongs, beaten favourite on 3 occasions, back down to 5 furlong here following 2 goes at 6, was massively unlucky. It ran twice in 1 week at Royal Ascot, which does happen, but not very often. Jockey described his last run as flat, and I think he probably is right in regards to Kings Lynn, who has had since then a 63-day break, so this could see him right for this. I do fancy Kings Lynn, to be fair. We've got Tis Marvellous right up there. 7-year-old continues to bat away in and around this level. Won the Beverley Bullet last time, but I think he is better at Ascot and could be out of his depth here a little bit. Hurricane Ivor won with SD's money on last week and certainly wouldn't write him off here, taking a step up in grade. But it is Kings Lynn for me. It's obviously an open race. He's no superstar, but he's got really good form in the book from earlier this year. And that break, I think, will have done Kings Lynn good. But where's your money landed, SD? Are you with Hurricane Ivor for the second week running? He won well last week.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere is the easy answer. And I'll tell you why. The race is too bloody hard.
Oh, I'm surprised.
Well, look, you have a choice in betting. You either go with something or you don't back it. Now, for me, there were 5 perfectly plausible winners. And trying to pick between them, it's who turns up best on the day. Now, given their price between, I don't know, say 7-2 and 6-1, you've got to get it right. Would I be confident? No. Perhaps Kings Lynn is the most likely winner if he's on his A game, but you're taking a chance a bit. I mean, the horse is a monkey. I think he's probably the best horse in the race. To be honest with you, it wasn't a race that appealed to me from a betting point of view. It'll be a great race, but I've not had a bet.
Well, that signals it must be a hard race. If there is a race going by on a Saturday where SD has not had a bet, then yeah, there's something quite serious going on. Where are we going next, SD? We're back up to Ayr. No, we've covered the Silver Cup at 2:30, so we'll stay at Newbury for the 250, the Legacy Stakes. 11 furlongs, not many races over 11 furlongs in this country. Group 3. Now, Al Arce is the favourite. I think he's won at Newbury already twice this season on his first 2 starts. I think I put him up both times on this channel. Loves the track, loves the ground. It's officially at the moment good to soft at Newbury, but possibly dry. And I've not really looked at the weather forecast, but yeah, it's good soft at the moment. Carries a £6 penalty for those previous wins, and that £6 penalty may well make it more competitive at the weights with others. He's been gelded after basically bottling it on his last two runs. Should have probably won the Coronation Cup. Then he should have probably won that similar race at Newmarket over Group 2. They're both much higher levels than this on paper and in opposition. It'll be a no bet for me. Al Arce is 4-5. There's only the 6 runners, 5 runners. Maybe SD's got an angle on it, but I certainly haven't.
No, I've not either. I looked at this Newbury car and I thought, good God, it's good racing. But yeah, his price, he might be slightly stingy in price. And maybe El Rob could give him a race. I don't know. I certainly didn't fancy Fox's Tails or Solid Stone if he runs to form. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'll say about this race, for years it was called the Arc Trial. It was the biggest joke in racing. I don't think anything ever ran in the Arc that ran in this race. And of course, LRC can't because he's had his stones off. So,
well, as we're talking about Arc trials, SD, there was a whole day in France over the weekend dedicated to the Arc, and with every
well, it was so boring, wasn't
every
it?
year that goes
so
by,
boring.
It's a complete waste of time. But I don't think any horse that ran or won on Sunday in Paris is in the top 10 in the betting for the Arc. But we'll move on from that.
Apart from Snowfall,
but got beat.
Yeah. So no winner was, yeah. Anyway, right. we'll move on.
So we're no betting the Legacy Stakes.
We're no betting that. I don't see the need in going in. There's other opportunities.
Same. Right, swiftly moving on to a Group 3 contest for 2-year-olds at Ayr. It's a 6 furlong Firth of Clyde Filly Stakes. I know SD has had an anti-post bet in here, which is going to fill us in on. I had a quick spin through this and couldn't really pick much out, so it will be another no bet race for me. But I have put up plenty of bets elsewhere, and there's a confident one to come. But the 305 for you, SD, where are you on that?
Well, this Headmistress's favourite, isn't it? Which is, I suppose, fair enough for girl lions and people. Look, to me, he's a chance, but I thought there was one in here that really caught my eye during it was just before the Ebel meeting at York. Hala Athami blew the start at Carlisle. Let's assume that was down to greenness rather than anything more sinister. But he won really well. I mean, this thing's a half sister to some really quite good horses, including, of course, Sprint Cup winner Hello Youmzain. So I backed Hala Athami. I'm not going to keep saying it. I'm just going to call it HHA. It's too long. But I backed him at the start of the week at 12-1. I thought that was fair enough. Look, Hello My Darling is fully exposed. There's a few others in the race who I would say are exposed. And I thought he brought something to the party in terms of unexposed form rather than I think roughly what the rest are going to do. And if there is a good horse in here, I think Winter Power won the race last year. I might be wrong with that. Just check that. Right. It's probably him. Her even. Of course it's a fillies race. It's her. And they'll really want to get a group win into her if they're breeding out of her. I thought she's a perfectly good bet at the prices.
Yeah, well, if you look at HHA, as SD is calling her, blew the start badly at Beverley. It was during Ebor week. I think it was at Beverley or somewhere like that.
Carlisle,
that's it. Blew the start badly and still won with a lot of ease. If that was anything to go by, there's certainly plenty of potential there. Whether that is in a Group 3 on just a second start, we will find out Saturday. So back down to Newbury for the 325. I found this probably the most difficult race of the lot. Wide open, 11-runner race with plenty of unexposed 3-year-olds near the top of the market. I thought it was pretty difficult. I'll be taking a chance on King Leonidas. He's around 7 or 8-1, impeccably bred colt, making his return after 457 days off. He had 3 starts earlier in his career, 2 of them last year. On his last start, he went off 9-4 for the Jersey at Royal Ascot, bombed out. And before that, he gave a good horse called Eastern World £7 and a beating. This would be a big test for him. He's been off 457 days, and it's his first try over 10 furlongs. But John and the real Slim Thady Gosden have been in absolutely flying form. I mean, earlier when I noted this down, they were operating at 34%, but they've had a couple of good winners since then. One really quite impressive at Yarmouth. So the Gosdens are in form. I'm just taking a bit of a hit and hope really on King Leonidas, but could be the one with the stable in hot form. That was the one for me, SD.
I agree. He has a great record. If there's some smarty pants in the chat who wants to give me the stat, I have seen it before. Basically, when horses are off over a year with Gosden, they have a phenomenal record of winning. They really do. I would back him, but I notice he's drifting in the betting. Now, you find this a lot with Gosden's horses. they can drift after a break. That isn't a bad sign, but I'd be backing him probably with the best odds guarantee firm on Saturday morning. So just take whatever the best price is, because he could drift even more. So I would use that. But it's exactly as you say. I mean, this horse was favourite for the Jersey last year. Obviously disappointed, but he must think there's something there, because he's not even chopped him yet. James Doyle's on, as you say, he's in flying form, and I thought the rest of them were, look, there's a few in there who are unexposed, but this thing could be in a different county if it's anything like. And at 7-1, I'll chance him at that.
Yeah, I mean,
albeit,
is that of Kingman by Galileo Mir? The Gosdens have had 2 winners and two winners, a second and 2 thirds today. They're in flying form. They're at 36% now. I just think, yeah. And I want to copyright the real Slim Thady. I'm taking the credit for that one going forward.
You are bringing the tone of the channel down. You put in, what was that M&M who's named after some chocolate things? Good God, he was an American gangster, wasn't he?
Right,
God.
Right. We'll move on to the 4 o'clock at Newbury. The Mill Reef Stakes Group 2 for 2-year-olds over 6 furlongs. Good race. I do like Dabab as a horse, and I've backed him and liked him this season. The form of his, when he finished 3rd in the Superlative, has worked out very, very well, beaten by Native Trail, who is going to get an honourable mention at the end of this video. But I do fear for Dabab on this ground that's officially now good to soft. I don't know what you think of the weather for the next 48 hours at Newbury, SD, but I very much had Dabab down as a fast ground horse to my eye. He's 15-8 favourite. I think that might well shorten up given his profile, the form of the Gosdens, his form behind Native Trail, etc. But I think there's got to be some each way value against him. There's 10 runners in here. Earlier when I looked at this, Gubas was 6-1. I thought he was the obvious each way, but he's significantly shorter now. Well, you can get a bit of 5-1. I mean, for anyone out there that's got a Betway account, you can get 6-1. But I'm not even going to go there and claim that price is readily available, because it is probably not. So yeah, he's about 9-2, 5-1 now. Gubas, it's took the shine off it a little bit from an each way perspective. He's the highest rated horse in the race. Didn't get the clearest of runs in a decent Group 1 in France last time. Ground should be fine for him. You know, he's already won at the track, Gubas, so he was half interesting, but now the price has shortened up a bit. I've gone a bit colder. Decent enough race. I think there's some good animals in here. But yeah, I do think it's worth taking on Dabab just on the basis of the ground.
Yeah, I'd agree with you.
Good.
Well, not on the ground though. Not on the ground, because I think it'll probably dry up, and I think you may well be at the fast side of good on Saturday. There's no rain in the Newbury area. Okay. On my forecast, I didn't particularly think that going back to 6 at a track like Newbury would suit this thing. And he is beginning to look a little bit exposed now. He's not run since July. And with all due respect to the pilot, I don't think he's half as good as somebody like James Doyle, who's on one of Gosden's earlier.
You've been backed up by Brendan Smith in the chat in regards to the pilot of Dabab. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Point.
Okay, I can't see the chat, but well done, Brendan. You know the score, don't you? Look, I thought there were 2 interesting in this race. There was Meliau Kingdom, who ran a strange race in the Ripon Champion 2-year-old trophy behind Floaters, but he looked like he'd been on a diet of pork chops in the parade ring. He'll definitely come on for that. And he ran perfectly well in the end. And if he can just, keep up there early on what is just his 3rd start with Neil Callan on, who used to be stable jockey to Kevin Ryan many, many years ago. I backed him at 22s earlier. There's still 18s available. There's 16 4 places with Slybet. That's perfectly good. I'll chuck another one there as well. I thought what you can do in these races is you can devalue the usefulness of nursery form. And I thought that Maglev ran a perfectly good race in the Ebor. Well, at the Ebor meeting, not in the Ebor. That would be a first. But he got hampered at the start and then ran on to be 3rd behind Harrow in a perfectly good nursery there.
Harrow's won again since, hasn't he? Did he win at Doncaster? Yeah.
Yes, and he's still 11-1. And again, I would back him each way. I thought Dabab was a perfectly good lay, and if he goes really short on Saturday, I'll be laying him as well as backing those two. This Gabas, it's a typical Richard Hannon type. To be honest with you, it's not. It's only run 4 times. If you've run 44 by now, haven't they? Look, they're tough. Doesn't really set my pulse racing, I have to say. Gabas gives us a sub ran all right at York. There's any number you can make a case for here, and it's a lot more open than the betting suggests. So the advice is if Dabab goes really short, lay him, but otherwise we'll back Maglev and Bearloo Kingdom.
Yeah, I was going to be on Gabas there, but at 6-1 is much better to be playing each way than the likes of 9-2. So I've scrubbed that one off, and might possibly if follow USD if the Bab does shorten up, and I expect him to on Saturday. I'll be looking to lay, particularly if the ground remains as good as off, but it might dry up. The last ITV race on Saturday is the 4:15 at Ayr. It's a 1 mile handicap. And we have quite literally saved the best till last, if you ask me, because this is the bet of the day for me. Dance Fever just wins this. Dance Fever wins this race. I'm quite confident. Progressive form this season. Was drawn out of it at Goodwood last time. Stablemate won it, and I put up the winner that day. Aratus, something like that. And Dance Fever just was never really in it, drawn wide, race wide, made smooth eye-catching progress up the straight, but was too far back and not given a hard time late on when the race was gone. He's off the same handicap mark here. Clive Cox is bang amongst the winners recently. I just think Dance Fever, 11-2, stonking bet. Get on.
I disagree with you.
Good. I'm glad you do.
And I'm going to tell you why. I have my doubts about him staying a mile around here. There'll be plenty of pace on, and I'll go on to the pace in a minute. But he's certainly not bred for it. I mean, his half brother won over 5 and 6. Another half brother won over 5 and 6. Another one won over 5 and 6. The dam won over 7. He's a half sister to a sprinter, so you'd actually say he struggled to get 7, but he clearly gets 7 over a mile. I think there's question marks.
I think you have got a fair point there. You have got a fair point, but he's ran at Ascot. He's ran over a mile at Ascot last year, and was second in that, and that's a stiffer mile than most at Ascot, stiffer than what most people think. So, yeah, it's a question mark, but I'm taking it.
I thought you would.
Yeah,
I thought you would, but
no, it's a fair
he didn't massively excite me, I have to say. When I did this race earlier, I was surprised to see Marie's Diamond at 12-1. I thought that was a good price. He's there or thereabouts. He's won off 102 at Ayr just 4 runs ago. He's now down to 101. And I thought that was a reasonable price. And now I can see Slyer going 5 places in this. Chalet will win one of these one day, and this is probably a little bit easier than some of the races he runs in. You've got to produce him right, but I think Slyer 11-2, 5 places. This horse won't finish out the first 5. You don't need to worry about that. He may well win, and I'll back him each way as a result. But 5 places and 12 in a race is a massive advantage to the punter. So back Shalier each way at 11-2. I think he is with Sly.
Yeah, fair enough. Couple of bits in the chat. Brendan Smith says he likes Hong Kong Harry in this race. And I've replied. I vividly remember Fahey said that Hong Kong Harry was his best chance of the week at Royal Ascot, and for whatever reason he didn't run. So he's one I've been keeping an eye on since. They obviously thought he was quite well handicapped off 81 before 87-ish before Royal Ascot. So he's had a bit of a break and came back 23 days ago. Hong Kong Harry finished 3rd. Would have a chance. And then also in the chat, I think we've got Joe Connolly's on Rivich a horse that I've put up actually a couple of times this year. I think he nicked a place earlier on in the season at Doncaster or Newbury, somewhere like that. So yeah, a few well-known horse handicappers
Isn't
in here.
Rivich a better horse round Chester though? He seems to run Chester a lot better than anywhere else.
Yeah, well, he's had not on his last start, but yeah, he's done okay at Chester this year. I think he grabbed a place in the Newbury, is it the Spring Cup, the one after the Lincoln?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, ran in the Lincoln with a bit of an eye catcher, finished 4th at Newbury with the enhanced places, but yeah, likes his way round Chester. So that wraps up the ITV action. All the selections will be in the description as normal. Well, this is the moment everyone's been waiting for, SD. Around the racing world with SD, I will just outline. I mean, I don't like giving the man too much credit. We argue like cat and dog over racing, but his last 5 selections in this section around the racing world with SD have all won. 5 on the bounce. Pretty impressive. It culminated last week in Ginger Jam. He was the 5-2 winner. That was his most recent selection. So, yeah, massive fair play to SD. What are the selection or selections in the Around the Racing World with SD this week?
Well, we've got 2. We're going to headquarters for the Amateur Jockeys Cambridgeshire. What a race that will be.
What time's that?
That's the last race at headquarters. That's the 4:25. Now,
yep.
There's a horse in there called Balgare, and he ran a pretty good race in the Zetland Gold Cup. And now I will come on to the Zetland Gold Cup in a bit, because that race has worked out really quite well. First to say, he was only half a length behind Nicholas T. and, Chichester, Good Birthday, Macram. They've all run really well since. And then last time, things weren't right for him here at Newmarket. He wants a bigger field, so he's got that. The trainer's on record and saying he's well handicapped. He's owned by this Newmarket Racing Club, and he won the race last year off a rating of 80. Now, he's £3 lower than when he ran at Redcar. He's up 80 today, or on Saturday. It needs to dry out for him, but there's a dry forecast at Newmarket, and I think this is a bit of a plot job. Ross Burkitt's on, and Ross is a very good amateur rider. There's some of them in here who, a lot of people's probably never heard of. I won't embarrass them, but I can see Roger Teal as the bottom weight, who SD loves. But I think Balgar is a perfectly fair bet at 13-2 with Hills. That 13-2 looks very big to me. And I think he'll win the Amateur Jockeys Cambridgeshire. What a race!
4:25 Newmarket on Saturday. After all the ITV action has finished, SD is going to give you a winner at Newmarket, and that is Balgia, 13-2. Did you say you had 2, SD?
There's another one.
Go on.
I'd have been at Catterick if I wasn't in the south of England. A great course run by the fantastic John Sanderson, who's 82, I think now. Anyway. Roger Charlton, we're going 4:10. Roger Charlton sending one up to Catterick called Saligo Bay. Now, I think he's very, very well handicapped on what we've seen. He won a race at Newbury over 1.5 miles. And then he was second at Newmarket a couple of weeks ago in what was a better race than this. Now, again, no disrespect to trainers like Martin Todhunter, but when Martin Todhunter has got the second favourite in a race like this against Roger Charlton, it doesn't say much for the opposition. Dreams and Wine's a chance, but this Saligo Bay looks very well handicapped. I thought he'd been here even money than the 15-8 they've put up at Billy Hill. He also, the 3-year-old allowance comes into play a little bit, especially over, the longer distance of approaching 14 furlongs. And if he settles, there's a slight concern about him settling. But if he does settle, he should be winning this. Johnston's got one in, which will go from the front, which should help him settle. I think he's a good bet at that.
Right, so there's your 2 around the racing world with SD. Saligo Bay in the 4:10 at Catterick is the 15-8 favourite. And then the one at Newmarket, which we've already mentioned. I'll just do a quick recap. So the last 5 selections SD has given away from the ITV cameras have all won. So it started 3 weeks ago with Tiona 9-4. 10 minutes later, Irish Admiral won 100-30, and then 20 minutes later than that, Solid Stone won at 15-8. So that was 3 winners in half an hour 2 weeks ago. And then 2 weeks ago, we had one selection. Hufflepuff won at Wolves 11-2, all good prices. And then last week, Ginger Jam won at 5-2 at Bath. So flying form, picking out the value away from the obvious big races on ITV, and there's 2 for that section this week. We've got a bit of chat going on. Perfect Power, I think that's Wayne Harrison causing a bit of friction in the chat, talking about Richard Fahey's form, and Berkey's gone back and forth with him. So yeah, nice to see in the chat there. I was just gonna, I'm clutching at straws. I've not had a winner for a while, but Native Trail last week, I was lucky enough to be there at the Curragh. I said this time last week to back it. There weren't many people cheering at the Curragh, but me and Charlie Appleby certainly were. So that was nice to see. Plenty went on last week. SD. Any highlights or lowlights for you to be saying?
Well, it was a great evening at Musselburgh.
So there was all the Group 1s at Doncaster and in Ireland and in France, and you was at Musselburgh.
I was at Musselburgh, and there was an eye catcher at Musselburgh as well. If you watch the 650 back, Tomo was commentating. I had a good chat with Tomo at Musselburgh. Tomo, yeah. Anyway, watch the 650 back at Musselburgh. One for Tomo's commentary when the picture went on his screen, and he didn't even think to look out of the stand. It's an absolute classic. But the other one, there's a horse called Aquamas, and I thought this thing should have won, and it just got the dreaded rail run at Musselburgh. It got absolutely mullered at the rail. It was painful to see, especially as I backed it. But I think Aquamas will win next time. So if you want something, look, I could bore you with saying, "Oh, Hurricane Lane's a chance in the Arc," and all of the boring things like this thing of Godolphins is a second coming, when I actually don't think it is.
It is.
Well, it's not. But anyway, I'll give you a winner. That's what you want me on here to do. So Aquamas, I think next time it'll win a lowly race somewhere at Catterick, or maybe back up at Musselburgh, one of those sorts of tracks.
Right.
And it's trained by Michael Dodds.
Right, there you go. I took 2 eye catchers last week. A Case of You ran in the 5 furlong sprint, won by Romantic Proposal, the Group 1 Flying 5. I think he just had to go around quite a few horses. A Case of You, I think, he's an eye catcher next time, hopefully underestimated in the market again. He's in a listed race in a couple of weeks. And then there was one for Donica O'Brien. There were quite a few messy races at Leopardstown. The 2-year-old race on the Saturday, Absolute Ruler, I think, was 3rd in the famous purple colours, and would have been closer with a clear run. But you could say that about quite a few horses. There was some shocking rides and stewardship and bands and all sorts of horses.
There were some shocking methods of transport to get to Ireland as well.
Yeah, we know, but we had a good time in Ireland. I'd recommend the Curragh or racing in Ireland generally to anyone. I really quite enjoyed it. I'll definitely go back as a paid punter anytime, no problem. So, right, that'll wrap us up. Oh, I'll give you some breaking news before I go. Arc Week, which is in a couple of weeks, so the Arc's on the 3rd of October. We'll be having regular viewer and inputter into our live chat, Andrew Humphrey, and we're going to be doing We're going to be doing back-to-back lives on the Thursday before the Arc, which will be Thursday the 2nd. So we'll do our general Saturday preview as normal with SD, followed shortly after by another live in regards to everything that's going to happen in Paris on October the 3rd. So yeah, look forward to that.
That'll be great with Hump. Don't let him bore you too much.
No, Hump will be bang on. I mean, they're going to get a contrasting views and behaviour from the likes of SD for half an hour, and then a few minutes later Hump for half an hour. It's going to be riveting viewing for all. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Some new faces in the chat. Wayne Harrison's in there with his posting his winning bets as usual. Keep it going, Wayne. Nice to see you winners. Brendan's in there, Berkey, Lucas, Joseph. They've all been in there. Joe Wall, Hump. Everyone's been in there. So thanks for tuning in.